Mariya Gabriel, which will also address the event and give you the political context and, of course, expectation on the impact which we hope to see, which we will see coming from these 5 projects. The European Green Deal call was launched now a bit more than a year ago. 1 billion euros, which at the end of Horizon Europe were put together to support at the moment when the European Commission, supported by European institutions, launched the European Green Deal. And I see on my screen, and I'm looking at the room here, that apparently the projects don't hear me. I hope the rest of the audience does. So we launched that Green Deal call, but certainly I think the speakers don't hear me. So maybe I pause here a second. Apologies for that. Yeah, you can hear me? Not yet? Can you now hear me? The acquisition of the projects? So, well, very good. So let me continue. The Green Deal is the Union's strategic focus, the Union's growth strategy, and the Green Deal aims at allowing us as Europeans to carry out our green transformation, of course related to climate change, but also dealing with the challenge of biodiversity loss. And it is a strategy which supports policy making, regulation, but as you will see during the event today, also very concrete action. And we launched this Green Deal call under Horizon 2020, 1 billion, to also allow research actors across Europe to come together and develop and provide solutions to accelerate the impact which this Green Deal needs to have in our society. The urgency, I think, is extremely well known. This Green Deal call was a first where we really work across all policy areas: mobility, energy, climate science, agriculture, and many others, because of course this green transformation is a systemic challenge for Europe, and scientists and researchers are of course particularly well equipped to bring together the various areas which need to be dealt with in this systemic manner and provide solutions for Europe. We will today see and discuss with 5 projects which were selected. Let me just say that these 5 projects are absolute stars, because we had 1,500 project proposals. Of these 1,500 project proposals, more than half of them were of the highest quality. The budget being what it is, we were able to fund only 72, and out of these 72, we have these 5 key stars with us. So thank you very much to the projects, and what we will now do is give the opportunity to the projects to tell us what they are about and how they think that they can make a difference, not just in research, but a difference in society to accelerate this green transformation. I'm going to start with Professor Herring, Daniel Herring, from the Merlin project. You're Professor for Aquatic Ecology, and the project is on freshwater ecosystems and how we can work on their biodiversity restoration. So with the recent floods, we've seen the fragility of our river ecosystem. So how does the Merlin project aim to mitigate the impact of such events sense, and how will you make a difference in restoring that biodiversity? Professor Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this question. Maybe you can mute your microphone. There is quite a lot of noise now, so it is very difficult to hear you and to understand what you have asked. Anyhow, so Merlin is a project that is about the restoration of freshwater ecosystems, so about streams and rivers and wetlands and peatlands. By restoring these ecosystems, we can enhance biodiversity, attractiveness, recreational use, but we can also enhance natural water retention and flood storage capacity. So restoration can directly contribute to reduce flood risks. In the first step, we will mainly working with 17 very large restoration projects across Europe, which are in different stages of implementation. We will analyze what has been achieved by them and what has made them so successful. But then in the second step, we will use about half of our budget to even improve these projects, so to implement additional restoration measures to upscale their approaches. And we will then analyze the potential for freshwater restoration in Europe as a whole. So where is it feasible? Which effect will it have? And based on these, we will develop, together with some economic sector, strategies on how to involve them in restoration and to advise policy how to best stimulate restoration. That's roughly Merlin in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Professor. So many actors indeed involved to progressively make a difference, and these pilots, I think, will also bring change locally very obviously. The second project which we want to highlight this morning is School Food for Change, where we have Mariya Gabriel. Mariya, good morning, as project coordinator. This is about providing more sustainable, healthier school meals, also tackling social and environmental resilience. And indeed, the indeed is also very much about ensuring that we have a fair transformation of our societies. And I think this project for me is also particularly interesting because it, I hope, will also demonstrate that research and innovation is not just about hard innovation technologies, but also about innovating in society, so social innovation, which is very much what this is. So Mariya, children can be very picky with food, as we I think all know as parents, but a balanced and healthy diet is of course key for their well-being and growth. So how will the project bring more sustainable and healthier meals to schools across Europe?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me okay. Okay, yes, certainly. We all know working with children, and if those of you that are parents, children can be extremely picky. So it's clear for some, but also research also shows that for a societal shift to sustainable healthy diets to happen, the increased availability and accessibility of healthy food isn't going to be enough. And there needs to be an embedded, this needs to be embedded in a supportive food culture environment that embraces all actors along the food system chain to ensure lasting systemic change. So while our project School Food for Change is about looking at the purchasing practices of cities for their schools, in terms of, getting them to serve more healthy and more sustainable food to children, we're going to be going one big step further in School Food for Change, and we're looking at schools as systems for transformative change of the food that is produced and consumed. And that's why we're going to be adopting a whole school food approach in the cities and schools that we'll be working with, and influencing the whole school food environment. So looking at the places that children eat in, the canteens or the eating rooms, are these really adequate? Are these sort of helping them to eat better food? We're also looking at how they see and understand food. So looking at education. Do they know where it comes from, how it's been grown, like who are the farmers involved, what its nutritional value is, involving parents, teachers, school chefs, producers, farmers, caterers, basically all actors. So this is where I think this project is really different in the sense that yeah, we're looking at it from a pretty broad picture in terms of trying to get this systemic change to happen.
Mariya, thank you very much. Let me now move to fire or fires, which is about wildfires, which are now a very, very dramatic and wide yearly occurrence in Europe. We had again a summer of deadly wildfires that jeopardized lives and livelihoods across Europe. So these events occur more often and increase in severity. How does the project, how can the project deal with that? What will be its impact? And I will pass the floor now to Andrea Duane, which is coordinator for the project. Andrea.
Yeah, thank you. We can hear you now very well, actually. So as you said, recent wildfire events have been unprecedented in size, speed, behavior, and impacts. And even the most modern and qualified suppression systems are struggling in front of unexpected fire intensity and velocity. Moreover, climate change is expected to increase wildfire events intensity and frequency. And this situation is not only jeopardizing communities in Southern Europe, but it's a common threat all around Europe, from the south to the north and to the east to the west. All regions need now new portfolios, policies, and guidelines that help to control extreme wildfires. The objective of the Fires project is to provide the European Union with the capacity to avoid collapsing in front of extreme wildfire events projected to increase under a harsher climate. To solve it, the Fires project will provide a new framework that encompasses technological, social, economical, and ecological solutions that ultimately work towards decreasing fire impacts and enhancing forest restoration and adaptation. The project plans to implement a series of innovation actions across a set of 11 living labs that represent different environments in Europe. These include Aquitaine in France, Canary Islands, Catalonia, Galicia in Spain, Sardinia in Italy, Bulgaria, Portugal, Greece, Central Europe, Scandinavian, and even though Chile. So 35 different partners with first order enterprises, governments, regional, national, and technology and research centers will merge their efforts during these 4 years to provide new solutions that Europe needs and that all the European member states are required to embrace.
Great, thank you very much. And I now move to the fourth project, which is very much at the heart of a political discussion right now in energy. Surging energy prices are, of course, putting again on the table the need to diversify our energy supply and to continue to invest in renewable energies. And green hydrogen is certainly one of those energies which is picking up already in markets and where there is a need to invest here in technology, particularly on electrolyzers. So that's the Refine 2 projects. Graham Cooley, you are leading in that project. So how can you really make a difference on decarbonizing our industry with that project? I think you need to unmute Graham. Graham, I think you need to unmute, or we need to ensure that your audio arrives.
Okay, how am I doing now? My apologies.
Perfect.
So the Refine project is a collaboration between ITM and Linde Engineering and Shell, and it's to deploy the world's largest PEM electrolyzer of size 100 megawatts at Shell's energy and chemicals park in the Rhineland near Cologne. So first of all, what's an electrolyzer? So an electrolyzer is a device that you use to split water using renewable power. And the product that you make from an electrolyzer is green hydrogen. And green hydrogen is nature's net zero fuel. So if you make hydrogen by splitting water using renewable power, there is no carbon in its entire supply chain. And what we're doing is using green hydrogen in the Rhineland to replace hydrogen which is made using natural gas. So you're replacing the feedstock from it being natural gas to it being renewable power. And at the location, we are going to be making sustainable aviation fuel. The most important part of the project is that by scaling up electrolysis, you reduce costs. So it's about scaling so that we can increase the volume manufacturing and drive out costs. And you know, green hydrogen is an incredibly important element in the energy transition. In fact, it's been noted around the world that you can't get to net zero unless you can decarbonize the industries that use natural gas. And this is a net zero replacement for natural gas. And so finally, I'd say that if you look at the IEA report, it will tell you that to get to net zero by 2050, the world needs 3,500 gigawatts of electrolysis. A very large amount of electrolysis to replace all of that natural gas with green hydrogen. And you can see in the diagram the scale up. So Refine 1, which is a 10 megawatt electrolyzer, making 1% of the hydrogen required at that Shell location, was based on 2 megawatt modules. And we're now moving to a 5 megawatt module with a scale up of an order of magnitude.
Graham, well done. Thank you very much. I think this is really a demonstration at scale. So the next step will, of course, then be deployment, but that is part indeed of the Green Deal policy more generally. And I finish with the last project. You mentioned aviation fuel, so let's move indeed to aviation. I just had my first business trip in 2 years. Arnaud and I traveled through Brussels Airport. You're CEO of Brussels Airport, and you are leading the Stargate project, which aims at making a real contribution at making air transport more sustainable by creating a green airport. So how will our airports be in the next decade in terms of their sustainability and but maybe also in terms of the client experience? Arnaud, over to you.
Yes, good afternoon. Well, you know, our Stargate project brings basically together 22 partners from the aviation industry, but together with logistics partner, government bodies, and also academic institutions across the whole of Europe. Our mission is basically to develop, test, and implement a series of innovative solutions that will make the airport ecosystem considerably more sustainable. Now, concretely, over the coming 5 years, we will work on more than 30 projects, focusing on 3 main objectives. The first objective is quite obvious, is to reduce carbon emissions, and we will focus on making ground operations greener. For instance, by using electric taxiing of aircraft, but also by deploying electric or hydrogen-powered vehicles for ground handling activities. And then very importantly, we will also build a biofuel blending facility at Brussels Airport to produce sustainable aviation fuel. And here the ambition is to mix biofuel with kerosene and systematically increase the percentage of biofuel in line also with the guidelines from the European Commission. Our second objective is also important, is to improve the local environmental quality. So it's about noise, it's about air quality, and we will be developing new techniques and innovations to reduce the emission of ultrafine particles and also to reduce ground noise. We will, for instance, investigate how to improve flight efficiency and green landings so we can minimize noise for the local residents, but also the emission of ultrafine particles. And the third important objective is to improve mobility at and in the vicinity of airports. So stimulating soft mobility for passengers and employees of the airport. And I'm talking about bicycles or electric vehicles. And obviously we will do that with a number of players in the transport sector. Together, for instance, with the Belgian railway company, we will work at creating extra capacity in our train station, but also work on better air-rail connections, especially during the very busy periods. Also, to improve connectivity, we will further develop the digitization of mobility data and transport flows as part of a mobility as a service solution. So these are the key ambitions that we have within the Stargate. Thank you.
Arnaud, thank you very much. I biked to Brussels Airport once, many years ago. I'm sure we can improve the experience, and you will do that. Aviation is, of course, one of the hardest nuts to crack in terms of getting to climate neutrality. The next range of aircrafts will be developed out of the Clean Aviation Partnership for 35 and after. So obviously, on our path to reduce emissions by 55%, airports are the key players. So I very much would want to encourage Stargate to then disseminate and ensure that the progress you will make is picked up across all airports in Europe. In the meantime, Commissioner Mariya Gabriel joined me on stage. Commissioner Mariya Gabriel is responsible for research, innovation, education, youth and sports. And Mariya, you were very much behind the Green Deal call. You asked us, can we make a difference to help the Green Deal pick up faster and provide these urgent solutions faster? And we are today seeing some of the delivery. So Mariya, I would be really interested to hear whether you think that we kind of got it right, and then you will also be available for questions and answers with journalists. Mariya, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jean-Eric. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very glad to witness with this event another important step in the implementation of the European Green Deal policy. More than a policy, it was from the very beginning our firm commitment. To pay tribute to this commitment, as European Commission, we launched this first €1 billion call to provide a strong signal and the means for our research and innovation community to start working with urgency. A few days ago, we signed all 73 R&I contracts, allowing the selected projects to start their implementation on the ground. Now, the 5 projects who presented themselves today showcase the level of ambition and the tangible contributions that they can make to the European Green Deal objectives. The European Green Deal is about us all creating a greener, fair, more resilient society. We have set out targets for 2050, which is 3 decades away, but the necessary transitions in climate adaptation and mitigation, clean, affordable and secure energy, industry for a clean and circular economy, sustainable and smart mobility, farm to fork, biodiversity and ecosystems, and zero pollution and toxic-free environments must get underway now with a long-term perspective. That's what we want. We want future generations to be able to reap the benefits of the work we are doing now. You can count on me and my team to support this ambition through innovation, research, culture, education, and youth. You can count on me and my team to bring research closer to our citizens, to make them part of the wider scientific community. And the Green Deal cause marks our collective ambition when it comes to acting on the climate crisis, biodiversity loss, and spurring a sustainable economic recovery from the pandemic. The recent report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is clear about the rapid, intensifying consequences of climate change. It shows that human activities are a key factor on climate change, thus making extreme climate events more frequent and severe. And the call for action cannot be imagined without research and innovation. And the Green Deal call does just that. The €1 billion represent a significant research and innovation contribution, recognizing that the green transition has to be socially just. Besides investing on core technology across a wide spectrum for energy sources and biomass, to transport technologies and infrastructures, the call covered 2 human-centric areas on strengthening knowledge and empowering citizens. These investments are intended to mobilize research and innovation community in support of a socially fair transformation, allowing citizens to actively participate. And it will support the development of ideas into pilot applications, demonstration projects, and innovative approaches, experiments, and prototypes. The research and innovation community reached with huge interest and positively in the call, with over 1,500 proposals submitted. And over 800 of these were high-quality proposals, which exceeded all quality thresholds. At the end, 73 excellent projects were selected for funding, involving almost 1,800 participants from across the EU, associated countries, and third countries. And it is a real pleasure for me to have with us some of the selected projects that I hope can inspire us and, above all, will respond to the high expectations from our citizens through the example of new initiatives here today with us. And I would like again to mention them. Merlin project on freshwater ecosystems and their biodiversity restoration. School food for change on more sustainable and healthier school meals taking social and environmental resilience. Fire rests on wildfires that are more and more a threat, not only for Southern Europe, but this is an increasing threat in Central, Eastern, and Northern Europe. Refine on advanced electrolyzers to produce green hydrogen. And the final project, what I would like to mention, and I was here listening very carefully, is Stargate. Stargate on how to make travel by air more sustainable, creating green airports at multimodal hubs for sustainable and smart mobility. So with all these projects, we signal the effective start of the collaborative research and innovation work. And I would like to ask all of us to continue in a spirit of cooperation in Horizon Europe with our partners and the community to develop similarly inspiring initiatives. I would like to conclude now by congratulating again all the successful applicants and give a word of encouragement to the many excellent initiatives that were proposed but could not be retained given the high competition. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Commissioner Mariya Gabriel. Thank you very much for your speech and also for having told us that you would take a few minutes to answer questions. So we are now opening the floor for questions. If you have a question, you can just raise your hand. That would be the easiest, or type it in the Q&R section that is dedicated to this, or send it via a comment. Here is the first question coming in. Apologies, it's a bit slow here. It's from Goda from Science Business. So, Commissioner, will these projects contribute, apologies, to the Horizon Europe missions? So how do the missions fit together with the Green Deal call?
Well, first it's obvious the link with our missions, because every one of these projects will contribute to the big ambitions of our mission, because remember, missions, that means portfolio of actions, mission that means approach where research, innovation communities, regions, citizens are working together. And if you are saying that, for example, the mission on climate adaptation is to have 150 advanced regions in this objective for climate neutrality, of course these regions should take into consideration what's about the development of electrolyzers and green hydrogen. What's about our schools and how to provide meals to our children in a sustainable way? What's about the mobility that we would like to have between regions? And I think that here we have clear examples. What I really hope is that it will be not only to our missions that these projects will contribute, that will be to the entire Horizon Europe program, because we have missions and we have partnerships. And in our partnerships, again, what we are looking for is to establish synergies, to use the knowledge and the experience, the disruptive ideas and technologies that others have, and rapidly to scale them up. And final point, not only missions and partnerships, which is the second pillar of Horizon Europe, I hope very much to establish links with the European Innovation Council, because with European Innovation Council we can help some of the projects and companies to grow, to become our European champions in this field, and that's what is so much promising in these selected projects. Here, I'm sure that we have some of them.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. While I'm waiting for more questions to come in, maybe I can ask when we would expect the first projects to bear fruit. So when will we see the first results of this European Green Deal call?
Well, I think that this question is for our participants, because first we have always to remind us that these technological progress, this progress with science and human factors and technologies, it's not a linear process. Let's be very honest. So I think that it's up to them, of course, seeing the speed with which they proposed so high-level projects, seeing the future-oriented vision with their project that they proposed to us, we stay confident that they will be able to provide as soon as possible positive results for all of us, for our citizens.
Mariya, maybe we can ask. We should ask them. I don't know if one of you wants to kick it off. When I mean you are now selected. You are up and running, so to speak, as far at least as our own work with you is concerned. So when do you think you could have first results? When, and maybe you can illustrate it with one specific result you have in mind.
I'd be very happy to start if you like. So Refine 1, which is the first part of our project, was to deploy 10 megawatts of electrolysis at the Energy and Chemicals Park in the Rhineland. So we've just started producing green hydrogen, and in about 2.5 years' time, we will have up and running the world's largest PEM electrolyzer of 100 megawatts in size. And so our decarbonisation journey will go up by an order of magnitude in that time scale. So I think, you know, one of the things about green hydrogen is it can be deployed quickly and at scale. And so we will have significant results, I think, over the next couple of years.
Daniel from Merlin.
Thank you very much. So Merlin, as you remember, is about the restoration of freshwater ecosystems, and we are also doing a lot of practical work. And by midterm, so after 2 years, we will have achieved a lot, I think. So we will have removed various bears in several of our case studies. We will have revetted several thousand hectares of peatlands. And we will have also already started to evaluate the effects of these restoration measures. On the other hand, we will be involved very much into the discussion with some economic sectors, namely insurance industry and navigation and agriculture, and also the water purification industry, how to better involve them in restoration. We will have come up with some intermediate strategies, how to, well, level more investment, especially from these economic sectors in restoration.
I like very much what the representative of Merlin project said, because that's a clear example with the link with our mission on waters and the oceans. So that's what exactly we would like really together the next 2-3 years to see that we are able to work together, and to again underline how important it is to connect with other sectors. They all can contribute, and your project can be a driver for change, but we need to cooperate and we need to create synergies with others.
Can I check whether others want to come in on the intended impact now shortly? Yes, Arnaud for Stargate.
Yeah, for Stargate, we are moving fast because indeed I think this aviation is a top priority, I think, for everyone. So we actually already have received some electric vehicles for ground operations. They are going to be tested very soon, so that's already in progress as we speak. And of course, we put a lot of effort and emphasis on the blending facility for sustainable aviation fuel. I think the blending machine should be ready sometime in 2023, really to move fast on that and start blending indeed sustainable aviation fuel with kerosene. So I think it's very important that we move fast on these ones. So I think that's moving already.
Thank you. And Andrea, do you want to come in on fires? And then Amalia?
Yes, of course. So we expect having results of the project from like midterm to the long term of the
So highly relevant for climate adapted regions. So that knowledge, we will make it available to these regions, of course. But here again, I hope the regions will find you and you will find them. But we will certainly ensure that this happens. And Amalia, for School for Food, School Food for Change.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be looking at changing the public procurement practices of cities and how they purchase food and what type of food they purchase for their schools. So by the end of year one, we will know pretty much in what direction these criteria, as we call them, will be going. You know, what kind of percentage of food should come from organic agriculture, for instance, how much should come from farmers. Also part of the group that we tend to influence through School Food for Change. So by the end of year one, we'll have a better idea, and then midway through the project, we'll be already getting some tenders published with the new criteria. Yeah.
The results next year. That's really great to hear. Can maybe to close, I think one important dimension under the Green Deal, but very much under the research policy, Mariya, which you're promoting, is how do we engage with people or with citizens? So I think in each of the projects, this dimension is relevant. And I'd be quite interested, I think, and our audience would be quite interested to hear how you concretely will work with people and citizens. Is it going to be in local communities? Is it going to be more your clients? So how do you reach out and how do you get them to help you design the right outcomes? Who wants to start? Yeah, Merlin?
Yeah, so maybe I start. Thank you very much for this question. So in our case, we are working with these 17 restoration case studies very closely. And for each of these case studies, we will create a board of citizens and stakeholders who will contribute to co-design the measures we will implementing. So we have a rough idea, and we also have in many cases already the permissions for building, for example, for remeandering streams or for connecting floodplains. But many of the details are still to be planned, and it is our goal to really co-develop it with the citizens. And we think that the citizens can greatly contribute from these measures, because nobody wants to live close to a channelized and polluted stream. So the water quality will be better afterwards. The landscape will be more attractive. There will be better opportunities for fishing and for recreation, and flood risks may be reduced and tourism be enhanced. So we will involve the citizens, and we will also involve representatives of certain economic sectors of whom we think that they also benefit from restoration.
So a very, very clear connection, Professor, also with the missions. That's really the approach here as well. Andrea, I think you wanted to come in on fires.
Yes, yes, of course. So the Fires will set up a series of actions aimed to engage communities at the local scale and also at the regional scale, and of course the different stakeholders. And we will set all these actions in a set of 11 living labs, as I told you before, that are sparse all around Europe. So people from different profiles, like for instance, forest owners, firefighters, neighborhood associations, and all kind of associations will provide their feedback, their lessons learned, and their experience with fire. So this way, the project can convert all these experiences with new knowledge that will return to society, help a better coexistence with fire, and this way, all people across Europe will benefit from the Fires project, like in a way that they can live. People living in forest areas will be more prepared in front of eventual fires. Firefighters will be better trained, and people will be co-living with nature in a more healthy forest, healthy nature, etc.
Great, thank you. Amalia, on your side, I mean, it's about people, but how will they help you design your project?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, our project is about children, particularly, but yeah, we will be working with 14 different local governments, one provincial government and a regional government across 12 EU countries. And these partners have already reached out to certain schools to involve them. So there will be lots of different activities happening in terms of directly getting in touch with children, getting their feedback on the food that they eat, and getting them involved in the whole food provision process in different ways. We're going to, one of our partners is WWF, who will be organizing a lot of youth engagement activities as well. There will be a lot of social media work. So basically, yeah, we want to work through this directly with cities in the project, but we will be actually reaching our final target group as well through the project directly through these different activities.
Thank you, Amanda. I would have loved to have your project when I went to Argentina, I must say, but okay, that was not the case. Arnaud, maybe I turn to you. I mean, the airport, of course, is about the population living around the airport and the millions of us which travel around the airport. So no doubt you will work with us. How will you do that?
Well, yes, we obviously, as I mentioned, we work on reducing the impact of the airport activities on the local communities. It's obviously air quality and noise. But I think beyond that, I think we will launch a number of projects involving the local community surrounding the airport, and just mention a couple of projects. First of all, is solar panel. We want to develop a solar panel farm, in cooperation with the local community. So the citizen can co-invest with us in the development on a new farm with many solar panels, and also that the electricity that is produced can also be shared with the citizen, with the local communities around us. I think that's very important to better embed the airport in its environment. Another project I think which is very interesting and important is we're going to build a biodigester, which basically will produce electricity with organic waste from the surrounding communities. And again, it's using waste from the local communities to produce electricity, also to the benefit of the local citizens. So we think that this kind of project is really the way forward for us, being much better integrated with the communities. They don't only have the impact of the airport and the flights, but also the benefits of having a large economic activity next door.
Thank you very much. Very systemic. And then, I mean, refined too is slightly more challenging for me to imagine where citizens come in, but Graham, you must have thought about it.
Yeah, I certainly have thought about it. So I think all the partners involved in Refine are very keen on promoting green hydrogen and engaging with the public. We're all very active on social media. I think that as a net zero replacement for natural gas, green hydrogen is a very versatile molecule and would not only be used in industry, but of course can be used in transport and indeed for replacing natural gas in the gas grid. So in terms of touching the public and their perception, transport and heating is obviously important as well. So we did a lot on social media to promote green hydrogen. And in fact, currently at COP26, ITM is funding the Hydrogen Schools program, where 2,000 school children are building hydrogen vehicles using green hydrogen produced at the school with solar and electrolysis, and building electric drivetrains. So our engagement at the level of school children, the level of the public, is from all of our partners in Refine is very, very strong.
Graham, thank you very much. And thanks to all 5 of you for joining us this morning. Commissioner, thank you very much for participating in this event. We are very, very much looking forward to see the concrete results. You can count on us to support you in that and connect you to all other projects, partnerships, missions, where your research will provide input solutions there when you can benefit as well. This is, I think, how research and innovation ecosystems across Europe can make this green transformation faster, owned in society, and really move us towards 2030 and 2050. Thank you very much to all of you, and thanks to all of you listening in. I hope you found that useful. The teams here in DG Research and Innovation are obviously available. If you have follow-up questions or need additional material, we'll be happy to provide that. Merci à tous et bon appétit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannes.